Welcome to the DFO Rundown podcast with Frank Saravalli and Jason Gregor on dailyfaceoff.com. Delivered by DoorDash.
Our next guest on the DFO Rundown was the 190th pick in the 1997 NHL Draft. He played 705 NHL games, which was the 17th most of his draft class, but that was after he played 605 in the American Hockey League. He won 2 Stanley Cups. He is the Chief Revenue Officer with the Florida Panthers, and he's also an author. Shawn Thornton joins us. Shawn, welcome to the pod. How you doing?
Good, really good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, whenever anyone says the author part, I'm like, I am. Oh wait, yeah, I am. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get into the book and with Dale Arnold and everything, but I kind of want to start with your unique career. I think you're one of 4 guys who has played 600 games in both the AHL and the NHL, but most guys did it the other way, where they were in the NHL and then they kind of played out their career in the AHL at the end, where you played 10 seasons in the AHL, you played 605 games, and I think you got into a total of 31 NHL games in those first 10 years. That's a long time to fight it out, no pun intended, for you in the AHL. What kept you going all that time, and did you think that an NHL career of 700 games was ever possible in those first decade in the A?
Probably not 700 games. I still can't believe I played till I was almost 40. I don't know how I did it. I don't know how people were. I don't know if people gave me jobs till I was 40. But you know what? When I got into the AHL, I literally got drafted out of a steel factory in my hometown. I never wanted to go back there, so I took playing the game as a gift. It's the minors, but it's still the second best league in the world, and you're with a bunch of guys playing a game for a living. Now, when I got to be like 28, 29, I started thinking, I'm going to have to start transitioning into something else if I don't get my break, because you can't play in the minors. You're not making enough in the minors to, play till you're 35, 36 and not have a backup plan. So I was going to leave. I was going to be a cop right after Anaheim was the last team I was going to try with. And we got sent down to Portland, and I was like, I guess I'm going to be a cop back in my hometown after this year. And then we won a cup, got called up, won a cup in Anaheim. And, thank God I got my tenure in Boston and then rode that into my last 3 years here in Florida. But listen, it wasn't easy getting punched in the face 30, 40 times a year in the minors. But again, better than going back to my hometown and lacing them up in the factory for 12-hour midnight shifts, moving steel bars. So I felt I was privileged.
And you actually did work in the steel mill, so you know how tough it is, right? Like, you worked there a few summers?
Yeah, I worked there for 6 months. My dad worked there, my grandfather, my uncle, my aunt, my sister, for generations of steel workers. So it wasn't fun work. It was work, that's for sure. But it was good money. I mean, I was a 19-year-old kid, making 20-something bucks an hour, and that's real money when you're, looking to, not sure where your next step's going to be. I didn't know if I was going to get drafted or anything, so putting some money in the bank in case I was going to college.
So speaking of money, you retire after 2016-17 with the Panthers, and then you enter the business side of the hockey world. You're, as Jason mentioned, Chief Revenue Officer. First off, tell us what that means if you're a fan listening at home, and what is your day-to-day like?
So I oversee all revenue. So my direct reports we have a VP of ticketing, VP of partnerships, and a VP of community and foundation. We see community as a revenue driver as well, not just giving back to the community. We do a ton of that. It's in our DNA from the top down. But as you grow the game, you should be growing revenue through those various verticals. So my day-to-day is literally trying to figure out creative ways on how to move tickets, create theme nights, create different products for partnerships, ticket sales, and community endeavors, I guess. So the business side of things was always people are always surprised that I'm on this side, but when I was a player, I literally used to live in the Bruins front office. In the minors, you have to be involved in the business side. Those teams don't survive unless you're a part of the DNA and helping them sell tickets, and the players are assets basically. So I was very involved in the business side, or very interested in the business side. When I played for the Bruins, I became really close friends with a lot of people in the front office, and that continued when I came to the Panthers. And when I was about to retire, our CEO and minority owner, Doug Sifu, sat me down and said, "You seem to know a lot about this stuff. Tend to be a little smarter than you let on. If somebody gets punched in the face, we'd like to see you on the business side and see what you can bring." And I was the first player this organization had on the business side, so I brought a little bit of a different perspective into the meetings too.
Yeah, Shawn, it's so rare to see former players go the business route. Most are on the hockey op side. Were you ever drawn to the hockey op side at all? Do you ever offer any insight or advice, or is you sort of stay on your side?
I stay completely away from the hockey op side. If they reach out and ask me a question, like I'm happy to give my opinion on something, but Bill has his team over there and they do a great job on their side, and I have numbers to hit, and that's my focus. So I love it. Did I think about the hockey side? No, not really. My other route was probably going to go back to Boston, do what you guys are doing, do some TV, radio, some community relations stuff. I had some personal sponsorship deals that I would have went back to, but again, this was always my passion.
Now, the Chief Revenue Officer, you come off, the best regular season the Panthers have ever had. Does that translate? And how do you kind of look at growing the game in what was for a long time, some consider maybe a non-traditional hockey market, but any market that wins, I find fans become passionate about it, number one. So can you talk about the growth maybe of hockey in Florida and some of the misconceptions that people on the outside might have?
Yeah, I will say my budgeted numbers are expected from the winning season. They're a little bit higher than they ever been, which is great, and we look like we're tracking nicely towards them. I will say down here, it started probably 8-9 years ago in the grassroots level, growing the game. This is nothing against previous ownership, but I think there wasn't a focus on growing the game at the grassroots level. Vinny and Doug came in and said, we want to get sticks in as many kids' hands as possible. We're currently in over 450 schools. We create curriculum, bring the teachers out, give them all the equipment. They go back in their schools. We're trying to put hockey sticks in every kid's hands. Our learn to play numbers, I think, are third highest in the country, if I'm not mistaken. Our revenue growth is exponential in years past. Our season ticket base this year compared to last year is up 21%. So we're looking really good. I mean, the perception is it's a South Florida market. There's a lot of things to do. Nobody's going to hockey games, but we've really done a good job in the community and building this franchise brand. And then obviously, as you said, when you've built that base and then you start winning, this is an event market. And now you become an event, people jump on. So we're looking to capitalize on all of it for sure.
You're a highly competitive guy. We're going to get into that in the book a little bit later on, Shawn. But the Tampa Bay Lightning in Florida, it's a natural rival. You've been a part of rivals. How much does their success fuel you?
100%. I will say on the business side too, we have a great relationship with them. Obviously on the ice, they want to kill each other. They want to win every single game. But we share best practices with them. The person that's in their role over the Tampa Bay Lightning is Jimmy Frivola. He's a good friend of mine. We talk probably every single week on what they're doing over there compared to what we're doing over here and how we can align on different things. So they've had a ton of success. They've done a lot of things the right way. And all you can do is try and learn from it and try and implement what makes sense on this side of the state. And hopefully that rivalry keeps growing because it really enhances both brands.
Shawn, we talked about your time in the minors and how you sort of as a player have to be involved in what's going on off the ice. Was there a moment in time or something that, sort of caught your attention or your eye when you got bit by the bug on the business side? Like what drew you to it?
My GM in Norfolk, Al McIsaac, kind of broke it down for, we were doing a lot of fan events, a lot of season ticket holder events, a lot of stuff. And I wouldn't say complaining, but inquiring, like, why are we doing so much of this down here? And they're like, that's your base. This is what helps us survive. Without that, we don't have a team here. And do you want to go to this is a pretty good market. Do you want to stay in this market as long as you're in the minors? Because Virginia Beach is a pretty nice place. If you do, then you do these things to help us grow the game. And I was like, you know what? He's right. I've never really thought about it that way. I thought of myself as a player. I just show up, I do my appearance, I grab my water, I'm out the door. But like, you really have to be integrated to it. And I think as players, especially now, they have a 50-50 split, right? So the more you can help grow the game, the more you're going to grow revenues, the more money goes back in your pocket at the end of the day.
Do you think more NHL players understand that, Shawn? Are guys more aware of that? Because you mentioned the 50-50 split and, the more that they grow the game overall, it benefits them, or some guys just laser focused on, I'm a hockey player and other people will take care of that?
Probably a bit of both, I would say, depending on the guy. I think some guys are probably super knowledgeable about it, and other guys are just, I'm going to go out there and win hockey games or score goals or do whatever it takes to try and win a championship. I don't know. I haven't been in the NHLPA in 6 years now. So I'm really not sure what the narrative within the organization is. But I know when I was there, they tried to do a pretty good job of explaining it to us.
Do you have a source of pride, Shawn, of something that you've been able to cook up on the business side for the Panthers, that an idea that you've put in place that's taken off?
Ooh, I have a tough time taking credit for ideas. We've had a few things here. We were the first team to go out with NILs last season when it came together. We were the first team in pro sports to have a virtual 5K. I mean, it didn't drive a lot of revenue, but first ones to be creative enough to think about how can we engage with our local fan base. And during the start of a pandemic, we got a ton of reach, ton of impressions, over 19 million, I think, on that thing. So I'll be very happy when we hit record numbers and can generate some revenue that ownership's very happy with and can really give credit to the people that are doing it on the daily.
So what's the goal then, Shawn, for you as the Chief Revenue Officer? Reading your book, it says you've always been somebody who likes to have goals in place on where you want to go. Do you have an ultimate goal?
Yeah, listen, I'm very comfortable in this role. I love it. I'm in a great organization with great ownership and a great boss and great peers. Ultimately, if the timing worked out or if the opportunity presented itself, part of the reason I got on the business side was to potentially be a team president one day. I would have to probably go back and learn a little bit more on the hockey side. There's a lot over there that has changed in the last 5 years, but playing for 20 years, I think I have a general understanding and winning a couple of cups of what it might take. So I figured to best arm myself to get into one of those positions. I'm not a Hall of Famer. I'm not somebody that's ever, can be the face of a franchise because of the successful player as a player. So I really thought I had to dig in and really learn the numbers and really understand the side of the business if I'm gonna run it one day. And it might not happen, and I want it, but it might not happen, and I'm okay with that too.
Now let's get to the book, Fighting My Way to the Top with Dale Arnold. Tell me kind of how it all came about and how long of a process it was from the start to the time you got the book produced.
Yeah, so Dale reached out. He had written a book prior. They asked him to write another one. Triumph asked if he had any players that he thought might be a good fit for a book, and he brought up my story. He approached me 3 or 4 times. I said no. I don't really like to be the center of attention, so I didn't want to have my face on a book out there in a lot of stores. But he thought my story could be inspiring, and he said there might be another kid out there that was like you that never thought he was going to make it. And if he reads this story and it inspires him to do better, wouldn't you want that story out there? I was like, well, now I'm an idiot if I don't say yes, right? Put it back. He created the narrative that I couldn't say no. I will say the process was a little bit. It wasn't what we were expecting it to be. When I signed up, it was pre-pandemic, and then the world shut down about a month later. So, the idea was to bring Dale down here, let him meet the family, meet my friends, come into work, see what my daily's like, go up to Toronto, see my hometown friends, come to Boston for my charity events whenever I'm there. He's in Boston, but, really do some hot stoving, some stories can come out of that. And I wanted it to be very organic, and I wanted a lot of the voices to be other people that have affected my life positively, but then we got shut down. So it really turned into like a year and a half long phone interview from different states. And I'm not going to lie to you, I lost some sleep on how this thing was going to come out. Because you're trying to figure out, was it the first year in St. John's that we went to Grand Falls and this thing happened, or was it the second year? Tried to Google it. Nobody had anything online back then, so I couldn't put the pieces together. Anyways, it ended up turning out all right. Dale's a really good guy and very patient with me as well. And tried to find my voice while he was helping to write this. So I think it turned out okay. I hope people enjoy it. I've had a lot of positive feedback. Nobody said I'm an idiot yet for writing it, so I'll take that as a win, I guess.
Well, you had a lot of stops, both in the American League and in the NHL. And obviously, a lot of people remember you maybe more as a Bruin than anything else for your NHL career. And Bruin fans are pretty loyal. And your persona, Shawn, like when you look at, and you talked about how you were lucky playing hockey, but, you look at the type of player you were, the style that you played, like Boston, they have a nickname, Massholes, right? For a lot of them, like you, I don't know if you could have fit into a better team.
No, and you know what? That July 1st, I had 3 or 4 options. Cam Neely called me and he said, you know what, Shawn, I've seen some players like you come through here, and I got to tell you, like, they're just loved in this city. And that might have been the understatement of my career. I'm still taken back at how welcoming and how appreciative of those people are, the role that's played, that I had to play. A little bit of it is I got fully immersed in the community. I decided if we have to put up with the winters, like let's enjoy the summers too. So we stayed there year round and got to know a lot of people, did a lot of community work, and got to know a lot of the other organizations around the city. But yeah, I mean, I was back there last week and I still can't buy a beer, and I retired. I haven't been there for 8 years, but I had a golf tournament a week ago. It sold out, it oversold, and that keeps happening year after year for my foundation. And I really pinch myself. I'm like, I don't know what I did to have this type of impact here, but I'm very fortunate to have the people in that city appreciate me.
Yeah, Shawn, wanted you to talk quickly about your charity and the Shawn Thornton Foundation and the work that you've done for both cancer and Parkinson's research.
Yeah, so we started a golf tournament. My grandmother had Parkinson's. She passed away. I started a golf tournament in her memory to raise some money for the American Parkinson's Disease Association. And the lockout happened in 2012. So we weren't allowed to communicate. The Bruins used to run the golf tournament. We weren't allowed to communicate with the front office. So I had to start my own foundation, basically to keep that golf tournament up and running. And I got to say, it was one of the best things to come out of that lockout. Definitely better than half the paychecks I lost. But the foundation supports Parkinson's, pediatric cancer. The golf tournament's the pillar event. We also get bibs for runners for the Boston Marathon and the Falmouth Road Race. We used to have some ancillary events when I lived in the city, but now that I'm down here working every day, it's tough to do as much as I'd like to. But very fortunate. Everyone on my board volunteers. Every dollar that comes in goes right back out to the various causes. And something, I like giving back. People ask what I'd like to be remembered for. It wasn't for getting punched in the face. I'll tell you that. I'd rather be remembered for being able to give back to the community in some way, shape, or form.
More than $1 million raised so far, huh?
Yeah. I got to get the final numbers from this year's tournament, but I think we did pretty well this year too. So it's been good. Listen, you always want to raise more. You want to give more back. But like I said, I got a family. I got 2 kids. I got a job. I try and do as much as I can, but it's not as easy to just put all my focus there. But I do have some really, really great people on my board that help me day to day.
Now, Shawn, when we have authors on, I don't like to give away too much of the book because we want people to go buy it and read it, of course. Fighting My Way to the Top, anybody can Google it. But I do want to talk about the incident that you went in depth in the book in regard, it stemmed from the cheap shot on Mark Savard, and then, the ultimate kind of, with Matt Cook, and then, the fight with the Dallas Stars. But can you take me back to the whole Mark Savard, hit with Matt Cook that a lot of guys maybe didn't see? And the thing in the book that really caught me was how you wrote how, hey man, like Bruins fans were more mad at us than anything because we didn't do anything initially. And I think that kind of speaks to the fan base that they have there and kind of the build up to that. And even Billy Guerin, who played for the Penguins, who's now a GM in the league, how he was almost integral for that not becoming pandemonium.
Yeah. I was actually talking to Billy 2 days ago. He's amazing. I love that guy. Yeah, so the Cook incident happened with Savvy. It was I think it was technically a legal hit back then. I think they might have changed the rule because of Savvy and a couple others. It happened. Listen, I was on the bench. I wasn't getting another shift that game. I think we were down by a goal. I wouldn't say it happened behind the play, but not really the focal point of the play. So some people might have missed it. We saw it afterwards. We're like, oh God, that was bad. Sports talk radio, everyone was just literally calling for all of our heads. I think we were all going to have to move out of town if we didn't do anything. We're fortunate that there was a game, I think 8 or 9, 10 days later. I can't remember off the top of my head, but the league kind of gave us an address and said, we don't want this to be an absolute gong show. So keep it respectful, but we wanted to internally anyways. I've been through enough of these in the minors and Rex had seen enough through his days and Z had seen enough through his days, how do we approach this the right way? So we kind of talked about it and said, well, who wants it? I'm like, it's my job. I'll gladly take care of this. It should be on my shoulders. And by the way, I don't think he ever would have fought Z. The guy's 7 feet tall. So I don't know if it would have been, the game might have went the other way if we tried that. Rex talked to Billy G and said, well, hey, we talked about this. This can be an absolute brutal night for everybody, or he can fight Thornton first shift. Whatever happens, happens. And we just move on and play hockey. And Billy Guerin went in, I guess. I wasn't in there, and said, Matt, you're fighting Thornton first shift, and we're moving on because I really don't want to deal with what the other side of it could look like. So it happened. We fought. There was a couple other fights in the game, but it wasn't. It really wasn't because of the incident. I think it was just hockey and the pressure cooker that needed to be relieved every once in a while. I think Mike Rupp might have fought Z. There might have been one more. I can't even remember. But the city was satisfied with how we approached it. I think we did it the right way. I mean, I was never a big believer in just turning games into an absolute bloodbath. Like, has to be addressed, but address it, professionally, and then move on.
Now, was that normal, Shawn, that you had situations, were you ever involved in other ones in the NHL where, a guy from your team, a leader, would go talk to a leader of the other team and say, hey, somebody's got to sort this out or this game's going to go crazy? Did that happen more than we think?
Nah, not a lot. I mean, I remember here in Florida, actually, I think it was Kulikov hit Sags low, and then we had to play them the next week, and they were calling for everyone's head and blah, blah, blah. I think I just went up to Jamie Benn and said, Jamie, like, you guys got some guys, but like, I can murder your whole team. So Kulikov will fight whoever you want first shift. We've already told him he has to do that. But after that, it's done, or else I'm going to come unhinged too, and that's not what we want. And Jamie's like, yeah, sounds good to me. So it doesn't happen a ton, but it does happen every once in a while.
So, Shawn, we always like to end our interviews with rapid fire. Only rule is you have to answer the question.
Oh, God, I hope these are softballs.
Oh, well, some of them are. They're a little bit more fun. In the book, you talked about how your mother named you after a John Wayne character, Shawn Thornton, in The Quiet Man. So do you have a favorite John Wayne movie not named The Quiet Man?
Oh, God, no, I actually don't. I don't. Quiet
You've
Man.
never watched any other John Wayne movies?
I have, but I've watched a lot of them, but I can't remember which one's which, and it's not like I dug in and studied John Wayne.
Okay. Worst job at the steel plant?
Cleaning up underneath the machines during shutdown for 2 weeks. So
why?
The factory runs for a year, and then they shut down for 2 weeks, and you have to go down underneath and like pull the sludge and everything out from underneath the machines to clean it up so it doesn't build up too much. You can only be down there for like 15 minutes due to union rules. It was miserable.
Oh, so you have to rotate. Everybody takes 15 minutes?
Basically, yeah, 15 minutes down out for, I can't remember, half hour maybe. Then you go back in. You have to wear the mask, the whole thing. It's hot as Hades down there. You're putting stuff in a bucket. They wheel it up and they wheel you back up.
Oh, all right.
It wasn't fun.
Hey, do you know what became of Johnny Boom Boom Shamoon?
I actually don't know where Johnny Boom Boom Shamoon is. No, I'm not sure where he went.
That is a sick nickname. I had to ask about it.
My old roommate Dave Durden he still calls me Boom Boom just to rub it in that's how I got into juniors.
Who was the toughest guy you fought in the American League that a lot of people don't know about?
Ooh, good question. Trevor Gillies was pretty tough. Mitch Fritz was really big, so he was pretty tough. I'm trying to think. Man, I was fighting 30, 40 times a year down there. It's tough to pick one person. There's a bunch of tough guys though.
Favorite AHL road team to play in, road city to play in?
Yeah, those West Coast teams weren't around when I played. So for me, probably when we got to go to like a Chicago or I actually like Portland, Maine a lot too.
Who had the biggest influence on your NHL career?
Oh, biggest influence. There's too many, honestly. I know I got to answer, but like all my coaches along the way, a couple players, a couple mentors off the ice. I mean, I've had a lot of people. I don't think you can. I can't pinpoint one person. My parents were instilling some sort of work ethic in me too.
Favorite regular season NHL goal?
Favorite penalty shot. It's got to be. Nobody ever thought I could pull off that move. Never got another shootout opportunity afterwards. I'm still a little sour about that. I'm 1 for 1.
Oh, man. Hey, you know what? Jason Strudwick, my co-host, who's also 1 for 1, he went in the shootout 15th. He never got a chance again. And but he almost says it's good because now he can say he's 1 for 1 forever.
Yeah, batting 1,000.
Your teammate, which one of your teammates, when you pulled the move off, was the most happy for you? Because it seemed like obviously everybody was, but like who had the best line after you scored?
I don't know about the best line. I'd say 4 happiest were Lucic, Tuukka, Horty, and Timmy Thomas. Probably because I've used that move on Timmy and Tukes, and it actually worked on them a few times. So I think they're happy to see that it worked in a real situation.
Where were you, and what was your reaction when the Tkachuk-Huberdeau trade went down?
I was home. By the time it went down, I think I had just passed out. Actually, I knew it was coming about 3 or 4 hours earlier, and we got started working on the creative and all the stuff we needed on the back end to show our appreciation. But I probably fell asleep. That went through like late. Yeah, I got 2 kids. I get up at like 4:30 every day, so I can't stay up that late.
Now, from a marketing perspective, if you look at the history of the Florida Panthers, many people connect the Panthers and rats. And Matthew Tkachuk, in a good way, is considered one of the best rats in the NHL. Will we see a Tkachuk rat honorary night this year for marketing?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. I like your heads up. I'm not in charge of marketing anymore, though, so I don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Shawn, thanks so much for this continued success. We'll follow your career. I'm very intrigued just because we don't see many, as Frank alluded to. There's not many ex-NHLers that go the Chief Revenue Officer way, and hopefully the book continues to sell.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the support, guys.